Welcome back, fellow Jazz Bums. Today we have Nnenna Freelon here with Nick Phillips. We're very excited to get into Nnenna's new album that Nick helped produce. Before we do, remember to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Drop a comment. Let us know what you think about Nnenna's new album. And with that, I'm going to kick it over to Felipe to get us started.
Thank you, Mike and Chris. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nnenna. So tonight we're honored to have in our channel Nnenna Freelon, jazz singer, long career, 7-time Grammy nominated. She's originally from Cambridge, Massachusetts, grew up and developed her musical skills and music background in Durham, North Carolina, where she still currently resides. She has worked with Ray Charles, Eddie Marsalis, Al Jarreau, Ramsey Lewis, Diana Krall, Herbie Hancock, played at the Monterey Jazz Festival, Monterey, at the Kennedy Center. She played for presidents, many awards and nominations. She's also a national spokesperson for the National Association of Partners in Education. She belongs in a family with multi-artists, including her 3 kids. And she's just releasing her new record called Beneath the Skin, produced by Nick Phillips from Concord/Craft Records. And we are very pleased to have you guys here tonight to talk about your records. Welcome back, Nick, and welcome for the first time, Nnenna, to our channel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's very, very nice for y'all to spend time with us. So I just want to start by saying I really enjoyed the record. It sounds amazing. Your singing is absolutely beautiful. Can you talk about the concept of this new record a little bit? I noticed, looking through the liner notes and stuff, that it's mostly originals of yours versus, other records where it was mostly, America Songbook type stuff.
Yeah. So jazz singers cut their teeth on the standards. You will judge a singer by his or her ability to navigate the standards. And I have done that for 40 years. That has been my joy, my delight. And at this point in my life, I feel like the music itself and me personally, we needed some new stories. So as concept records go, you could tribute Stevie Wonder, you could tribute Billie Holiday, you could dig within your own well and write some new material. And that's what this record is.
Very cool.
Right.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. I'm forgetting the name, but the first track on side 2 of the LP is my favorite. It's a little more upbeat version of it.
Here's your hat.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But before jumping in, because I do have a lot of questions for you, Nnenna, I wanted to ask, how did the collaboration between you and Nick kind of come to fruition?
Wow, where do we start, right?
You start, Nick.
Well, I first met Nnenna, this had to be back in the mid-90s. Concord Records signed her to the label, and she put out her first album on Concord, which was titled Shaking Free in 1996. And at that time, although I was producing projects for the label, I was my main job was the director of marketing. So I was the person responsible for marketing Nnenna's records when they were released on Concord. And then in 2005, we went into the studio for the first time together. And that resulted in Blueprint of a Lady Sketches of Billie Holiday, an album that got a Grammy nomination. And so we've known each other for almost 40 years. It's hard to believe.
It's a long time.
But that's the case. And I produced another record with Nnenna for Concord called Home Free that came out in 2010. And then there was a little bit of gap. Both of us had left the label, if you will. I was no longer a full-time employee and she wasn't recording for the label. And we reconnected on her album called Time Traveler, which was released on Origin Records. Nnenna recorded it, and then she and I got reconnected at the Grammy meeting, I think it was. And she said, oh, Nick Phillips Music, what's this? What's this music consulting? And so I helped her with that project, helped her, get Origin Records on board to release it. And the next thing that happened was she said, hey, you want to produce my next album? And of course, there was only one answer to that question.
Oh, that's fantastic. So the production piece of it, can you speak to, I guess, the lead up to the recording session, and how did the recording session go? Like, was it a number of days? Anything you want to share about kind of the process there? You
can start, Nnenna. I have some things to say for sure, but I'll let you start.
We had to decide where to record. I mean, there are a million decisions that come into play when you decide to create a piece of art like this. Where are you going to record? Who's going to be the engineer? All of these things. And so Nick guided me through some of these choices and helped really create an atmosphere of ease around all of it. Like nothing was so, it was all, well, if you do this, we'll do this. If you, early on, I think I really had a desire to work with people I hadn't worked with before. Mm-hmm. A fresh moment in terms of composition, concept, all of that. And so Alan Pasqua, who is someone I did not know, but only knew his music, was somebody it was a dream. It would have been a dream to work with him, but who am I? He doesn't know me. And so Nick encouraged me to reach out, just reach out. I mean, the worst he could do is say, no, I'm too busy, or, you got to be crazy. He said yes. Not only did he say yes, he brought music to the project that did not have lyric. Black Iris is one of those tunes that was originally called Ellingtonia. And he has turned out to be the fine musical friend that you always dream, someone that you love their art. You hope they're nice people. It's not always the case, but with Alan, it was totally the case that he was open and interested and easy to work with. And so, with Nick's guidance, I don't know that I would have had the courage to reach out to a stranger without his encouragement. And then all of the technical things that were sort of like non-musical and non-musical, because you can have a producer who knows the technical end but does not understand the music. Then you can have a person who understands the music and is a little about the technical stuff. So Nick Phillips has a foot in both worlds.
Absolutely. That's a great match.
That makes it, but he very much kept me focused on the thing I do best, which is sing. And so I was not as concerned with things that had nothing to do with producing the art, making the art from your instrument. So that's what I think is the greatest gift in working with Mr. Nick Phillips.
Thank you, Ms. Nnenna Freelon. It's very kind. I'll echo the sentiment about the ease in the recording studio. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that we really took our time preparing for the album. And, we started saying, okay, let's work together on this album. That was back in July of 2023. And then the record finally came out in March of 2025. So it was almost a 2-year process, but it was, let's just take our time. We don't have to meet some record labels' deadlines but let's just organically go through this process, get the right songs, get the right musicians. And regarding Alan Pasqua, Nnenna asked me to put together a list of musicians that we thought might be good for this project. And Alan was right at the top of the list. I had heard Alan for the first time play piano on the John Patitucci album, One More Angel, that was released on Concord back in 1997. Beautiful album. Beautiful. And his recording of the song Smile, his reharmonization, everything he does with that, one of my favorite instrumental recordings of ballads ever. And so when I mentioned Alan Pasqua to Nnenna, she's like, oh yeah, I love Smile. That's an amazing, I love all of his stuff. So, well, let's give him a call, And the great thing about Alan is he's such a unique artist. He has such a voice of his own, yet he is so versatile. So anything Nnenna threw at him in terms of a song, in terms of music, in terms of collaborating on an arrangement, he just was absolutely perfect for. And I'll also add that when it came to figuring out who would play bass and drums to form kind of that core trio of the project, Alan said, look, there are these guys that I've been playing with in LA, Steve Haas and Jonathan Richards. They would be great. I hadn't really heard those guys, but we both knew to trust Alan. We knew that if he said they would be great for the project and all the respect and admiration we have for his musicality, we knew it would be a great fit. And it turned out it absolutely was.
Absolutely.
That's interesting. So Nnenna, you've been most of your career singing other people's songs, but you're known for putting a very personal touch. You're a very good interpreter of songs, right? We know that quite well. So how did it feel? How does it feel to you when you're going to sing your own songs? How did you prepare for that? How was your approach to that?
That is such an awesome question. That is the best question. I mean, the short answer is there was Felipe ease. I was not trying to convince you. Mm-hmm. I was not trying to, warp it into the next phase to push against the many other versions of the song, to bring a brand new, fresh into these tunes themselves were fresh. Some of them, the ink still wet. And I could just sing. I never knew that it could feel so good to just sing the song. Mm. Now, as I've gone out on the road, the songs have continued to evolve as music does. But when we were in the studio, they were new songs to me as well. Mm-hmm. They were new songs to the instrumentalist, but also to me. And so just singing the words, singing the music, bringing my own without any kind of artifice or, ornament. Mm-hmm. The song itself, wow, that was an amazing thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
And yeah, I just want to add to that too. We seem to strike the perfect balance that you always strive for in a recording project, because the worst thing is to go into the studio unprepared, because that's one of the most expensive rehearsal spaces you'll ever pay for if you're not prepared to record. On the other hand, there's the risk of over-rehearsing so that by the time you get into the studio, it's no longer fresh, it's no longer exciting, and you lose some of the passion for the material. We got it just right. Nnenna flew to LA and spent 2 days rehearsing with the core trio. And that was all that was needed. When we went into the studio, half of the songs on the album are first takes. That tells you the ease at which everyone felt in the studio and how comfortable everyone felt performing with each other. And 2 of the songs, we only did 1 take because we heard the playback and we said, we don't need to do another one of that. That's it. That's awesome. That was Black Iris, and that was Changed. Mm-hmm. And that kind of ease in the studio, I'm here to tell you, is incredibly rare. I've been in the studio a lot of times with a lot of artists, and it was just a wonderful experience to have it, be so effortless, and just kind of have the songs kind of played themselves.
Yeah, I feel like that really came across in the recording too. And Nnenna, the freedom that you felt to just sing the songs really came across too, and your just emotional content. We could talk about some of the individual songs too and the meaning behind them, but it just came across as a very well executed, thoughtful, emotional recording, and I really enjoyed it. It's not really a question, for a statement, I guess, but can you talk? If you want to talk about some of the songs, maybe some ones that are more special to you, and kind of the meaning behind them, and those sorts of things. Because one of the interesting things too is in the liner notes, you have a little blurb about each song, after the title and who arranged it and all that sort of thing. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Phillips was the one who said, write a sentence. He didn't say like lots of sentences. He said, write one sentence about each song. And that was an exercise that caused me to distill all of the emotions, whether they were poetic or lyrical or whatever, into a very short space. Because really, when a person listens to it, they're meeting the song for the first time, and they don't need a lot of yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. I was really trying to, mm-hmm. Maybe that's for you as the artist, but most people are going to take you at face value, and then it becomes a part of whatever is a reality for them. So the part of this project that was really important to me was that I trust myself and trust my audience. Mm-hmm. That was huge, because sometimes thou protested too much. You say way more. It's like say less. Because everybody comes to music with their own personal history, their own reality. And the more we can trust that, the more universal the music can be. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, as a project, it is my favorite project.
Nice.
Hands down. I love it when people say to me, well, which songs did you write? It was like, well, I wrote 9 of the 10. And then, the one I didn't write that was written by Stephen Foster, Oh, Susanna, I had my way with her, as I usually do. And so they're like not Stephen Foster's anymore anyway. So if people come to the music and feel like the songs are old songs, like something that could live in the jazz lexicon from way back, just a standard they never heard of before, that makes me very happy. That makes me really happy that I'm writing inside of a history and inside of a vibe that is not the same words, not the same story, but a similar vibe. That's just delightful to me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the album as well. I do agree. I like the simplicity of it in a sense of like the composition and how it was recorded. Before I ask a question though, I did want to just quickly show the website of Origin Records. This is one place you can order it. You can also sample the tracks here as well. So we encourage you, we'll drop a link in the description if you want to check this out. You can sample, and then you can, there's a few different options that you can get it, CD and LP. But I did want to go back to the recording piece of it. And I just had a question. Oh, let me switch our layout. I did have a question. Thanks, Nick. Can you talk a little bit about the rehearsal process? Because this is new material, because it's a new group that you're working with, how did that approach go, and how much editing went into place during those rehearsals, so that when you went into the studio that you guys felt really confident?
Another great question. Well, I flew out for a let's see what we're going to do kind of rehearsal with Alan. That's throwing all the material that you can think of, some which made it through to the final project and some which did not. So it was more of a high level of play. And I put play in big air quotes because we were seriously looking at what could hold together as a collection. So Alan had some songs he had written that didn't have it. I had some tunes that I'd recorded before. I had some tunes that I, loved and, but wasn't sure if they were good enough. And, so we put all the things on the table and we played through them and felt our way. It truly was an intuitive, I don't even know when you know. And once we got to like 5 tunes that felt like they held together an idea, then it was easy to pick some others that could round out the project. And the title track actually didn't come until after we finished the tracking. I was like, we need a Beneath the Skin song, don't we? And so 2-3 weeks later, I came with that tune. And, there was ease. I don't even know how to, if we hit, you hit bumps in the road with any kind of rehearsal process, but there was such love in the room. There was such a sense of, we serve the same master, and that's music at the highest level. No ego, no, I need to be the star of the moment, but that the mistress that is music holds us all to this high standard. And that's what we aspire to, not any individual, not even Nnenna Freelon. We all were reaching for something that was a little bit over our heads, I think.
I think you guys nailed it. You mentioned that you were trying, that one of kind of the narratives you wanted this to be placed in was kind of the tradition. And I totally got that. I mean, when I was listening to it, there were elements of like Abby Lincoln came through. I mean, really powerful stuff that I just felt like it fit perfectly in there. I mean, and the fact that when I first listened, I just did a blind listen. So I had to like ask myself, are these standards that I'm unfamiliar with? Like, what's going on here?
Yep.
I love it.
I want to just add a little bit about the title track because it also is a great illustration of this concept of ease that we were talking about. Because before we went into the recording session, there were a couple of other songs that Alan had written that Nnenna was trying to figure out lyrics to, and nothing would quite come. And so we ended up not recording those. But then a few weeks later, Nnenna and I are in a Zoom meeting, and we're about to get ready for me to fly back out to North Carolina for the mixing sessions. And she said, this song just came to me, and she sang it over the Zoom. And I said, okay, our first day of mixing actually is not going to be mixing. We're going to get Keith Gans, who's a poet of a guitar player who's on this project, who lives in North Carolina. And we're going to go into a studio, and you're going to record a duet version of that song. And it became the title track. Another song in which it was the first take that made it on the album.
Wow.
I noticed that, on the back here that it talks about some of the technical details of the pressing plant. It also mentions the color of the vinyl is dark and lovely black vinyl. So I did.
Okay, Nick Phillips.
Yeah, that's track number 2, Dark and Lovely.
Yeah, it's a great track. I mean, it's also interesting that it was pressed in North Carolina, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Poorhouse Pressing.
Poorhouse Pressing.
I wasn't familiar with them. And
they're a small little press, just chugging away in a off street parking kind of way. You go around the corner and down a little alley, and there they are. You can walk in there. You can see them. The way they press the records. You can see the indie artists and other artists have their vinyl all on the walls. It's a funky, fabulous space of music making, music producing in a small, off the grid state. And I love that. It's a mom and pop type of vibe. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty amazing. And for me, I wanted to, as much as possible, have this be a North Carolina made project, from the recording to the to every way that I could. So.
Yeah, and I just want to add to a couple of things. Got to give credit to Jason Richmond, the recording and mixing engineer, who just did a fabulous job.
He did.
Just an incredible job. And also regarding Poorhouse Pressing, when I was talking to the owner, Lacey, and because the price they quoted to Nina included the lacquer cutting. I said, well, who does the lacquer cutting? And she said, Well Made Music. I said, oh, Well Made Music. That's Clint Hawley's. Can Clint cut the lacquers for us? So, because I had worked with Clint on, this Charlie Parker box set. He did the lacquer cutting for that.
I love that box.
He did the lacquer cutting for the Coltrane 58 box set. So I knew that, okay, if Clint Hawley's cutting the lacquers, we're going to have a great product in terms of the vinyl LP.
I didn't realize he cut that Charlie Parker box. I've told you this numerous times, Nick, but that Charlie Parker box is like the best sounding version of those 10-inch LPs that I've ever heard.
Yeah, they're great. Absolutely. Yeah. One comment about the pressing, the quality of the recording. We talk about how it makes you feel like you're listening to old standards, but they actually sound really good.
Yeah.
Like better. I mean, the mix and the recording and the pressing and every single bit of it is absolutely excellent. It couldn't have come out better. It sounds really amazing. So, not that it sounds the most important thing ever, but it really did come out very nice.
It's all part of it,
It is.
It's all part of what makes a great recording a great recording.
Yeah, it's part of the package anyway. So now, getting this hook of North Carolina, I read and heard some interviews of Nnenna talking about how she's so proud and so to be in North Carolina, to be still living there, making music there, and of her upbringing or her inheritance from the North Carolina musical tradition. That has a couple of kind of important people that were
a couple notable ones,
a couple guys, right? So how does that? So how was this musical upbringing for you in North Carolina? How important was that for you, and how important it is to this day?
Oh, wow. Amazing questions. North Carolina gave me permission I was born in Cambridge. I was raised in Cambridge, Massachusetts, but I didn't. People are like, oh, did you go to Berkeley? I came of age as a musician in this state. My roots go back here because my father was from the eastern part of the state, a very rural part of the state called Halifax County. So as a young child, I had strong memories of coming here during the summers and being with my people in Halifax County. Because I did not go to conservatory, because I was not sort of molded in a university kind of setting. I've stopped saying that I'm self-trained. I say I chose my mentors and my teachers, and I was loved by the community. And for truth, the North Carolina community loved me up on stage. So there were people here, boots on the ground. Wherever you go, someone knows about this music. I don't care how small the place is. And this place was no different. And then as I grew in musicality and also in awareness, I sought out other mentors like Ellis Marsalis, Yusef Lateef, my beloved. I studied improvisation with him at the University of Massachusetts. Wow. And others who, Dr. Billy Taylor, others who took me under their wing.
Wow.
Just, cut, you're so fabulous, you're so wonderful. They're like, look, you need to listen. This sister over here, you need to listen to Dakota Staten. And you need to check out Ethel Ennis, because they could tell from what they heard me sing, I was only listening to a thin swath of voices. So they opened up my mind. They opened up my heart to other ways of expressing. I did a workshop with Betty Carter. Betty was, oh boy, she'd make you cry.
Mhm.
If she heard you do one lick more than once, she'd be like, okay, don't do that anymore. Because I think she knew what you knew you could do well, you would lean on that and never get any better.
Mm.
So she challenged you to work beyond your mental, physical, spiritual limitations. So I'm grateful for this down home. I'm also grateful, Felipe, to tell you the truth, for having two lives. I have a life as a mother, as a community member, as a taxpayer, and a life on stage. I am glad I did not have to choose between the two, that I could leave a world tour, come home to my family, that I could be with my family and have them have the fact that I'm a mother and a wife inform the way I want to present myself on stage. So it's been a beautiful life.
That sounds great. Just hearing all the people that you've been mentored by and collaborated with, it seems like in terms of musical discovery, to have a front row seat and to work with those musicians and artists is just an incredible opportunity. It really sounds incredible. In terms of discovery, I'm sure that you continue to learn more and more. Do you have a process for doing that? Is it just kind of come natural at this point where you're just discovering new things or revisiting old things and learn with a different lens on it?
You know, that's interesting. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with your posture and your relationship with the world around you. Everything has something to teach you. Everything has something to open you up. I'm now super interested in the natural world as our oldest ancestor. What does the natural world have to say to us? What is the music of water? What is the music of the birds? What is the music of a rock? In a poetic sense, but also gaining inspiration from the natural world. And the more you lean into that, the more you see that there is. The world is literally doing somersaults to get our attention. And we're just like on our way to work, cell phones, doing the thing, not paying attention. The more you allow yourself to be open and permeable to those things, the more they show up. And so I consider myself a lifelong learner. I'm not done. There's always more to learn. There's always more to experience. There's always more joy to flow through if you as an artist are willing to open up and let that in.
I'd say the title track really captures that you're talking about. You know, the elements of nature that are in the lyrics in the title track, Beneath the Skin. I wanted to just circle back real quick on North Carolina for a second. That's a soulful place, I got to tell you. It was a real joy for me to fly out there twice to work on this project. And so, you know, we had myself and Alan Pasqua and Steve Haas and Jonathan Richards coming from California. But then you had Nnenna, Keith Gans, who's based in Durham, an amazing guitar player playing on the project. Also, Evan Robertson brought some really beautiful trombone playing, and he's from North Carolina, as did Shauna Tucker. So it was something in the water there in North Carolina.
Absolutely. I mean, jazz royalty comes from North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's incredible. All right. So, Felipe, Chris, any other questions or thoughts you want to share?
Well, just from the North Carolina thing, I think it's really interesting that you got to, you know, reconnect with your familial roots after, you know, because I know exactly how that feels. My family came from Arkansas a lot. I live in Texas, and just I remember going as a child and going back to where my people came from. You know, and it's to have that connection and then go back there and become part of that community and contribute to all the art that you've done. it's really, really interesting and really a testament to you, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah. But I mean, I can't say enough about the record. I feel like you shared some things, you know. I listened to the record once just straight through, and I really enjoyed it. And then I looked at, you know, each little sentence that Nick had you put on the back of the album, and I listened to the songs again, and it really informed. I mean, it gave me a lot of context, and you know, your husband, your late husband, obviously a couple of the songs were referencing him, and the last song, this is the last song on the album.
Last Dream Home.
Last Dream Home just broke my heart. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing that you shared with everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Every song is like a page to me, a page in a photo album, like, you know, the different moments. Dark and Lovely is my little granddaughters. I have 3 of them. And, you know, just wanting to celebrate their unique, beautiful humanity as young girls, you know, when there are not always, you know, adequate representation for that's fun and not, you know, sort of banging you on the head, but just sweet.
Right.
And so of all the songs on the record, that's their favorite. So I think I have at least 3 new jazz fans in those 3. Black Iris, wow. The lyric for that was just a download from Alan's exquisite writing for a tune that he originally entitled Ellingtonia. And it just, you know, reminded me of all those sort of flower songs, Violets for Your Furs, and, you know.
I love that track.
You know, just all these, you know, flower, but also the play between the flower and the woman. I had a woman come up to me in Baltimore and said, you know, I'm Black Iris. I said, oh, okay. Well, pleased to meet you. I'm sure. Pleasure. And to know that people resonate with it on personal levels is so rewarding and so fantastic.
Yeah. So so on that point, now when you're touring the songs, you're playing them live, you know, probably they have been evolving or changing, but anyways, do you feel that now as a performer, being a composer as well, do you feel that you connect more with the audience when you're singing?
I don't know if connect more is I feel more real estate is on the table, like not just your delivery of the song, but the message to begin with. I feel a sense of responsibility, you know, in a way to tell the story that was written. But I'll tell you, with one of the tunes, Oh Susanna. Now, Oh Susanna, I imagined as a, you know, in terms of the arrangement and all of that, to me, it's a tribute to the people of New Orleans. And here we are. This is the 20th anniversary of Katrina. Hard to believe. The birthplace of jazz. New Orleans was submerged. We were all huddled around our televisions 20 years ago, thinking that there's no way this is going to work out well. And totally, when the levees broke, lives were broken.
Yep.
And so there is a sense of longing. It's a camp song. It's a song that we remember from childhood, some of us. But the history of the song comes out of the minstrel tradition. If you look up the lyric, they are racist. They are ugly lyrics.
Mhm.
I have had my way with some of the words, and as I have performed it, and it's only been like several weeks since the record's been out, I've been inserting "We Shall Overcome" lyric into that melody, because at this very moment, my heart needs to say that. My heart needs to channel hope for all of us that we shall overcome.
Mhm.
And so only the people who have heard me sing this song live have had that experience. But I'll tell you, when I sing that over the changes, people are like, wow. I don't sing the whole song.
Mhm.
It's in tone, "We shall overcome" someday, because old Susanna, she was standing in the sun. I could hear the song she's singing. It's "We Shall Overcome."
Oh, that's amazing.
That's
And
powerful.
so that's an example of an evolution of a tune in the moment that called upon me as an artist to go with it. It wasn't a plan. It came through spontaneously one day in Baltimore, and I have continued to, because people come out to hear you sing, and I think they also want just a little bit of hope. Just a little, just a half cup, quarter cup.
Yeah.
Because we're all dealing with stuff. It's tough right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's amazing.
And do you find yourself having ideas for composing new songs on the road now?
Absolutely. There's nothing like composing that, there's nothing like that act or that practice. It begets more of it. It's almost like you open a door, and you cannot demand that inspiration show up, but you can be ready when it does.
Absolutely. And take advantage of it when it does.
Yeah.
Right.
Very nice.
So, guys, any final questions?
Thank
And
you
Nnenna,
so much.
my wife Carolina really liked it as well, and she heard your answer about nature, and that made it resonate even more. She said,
Love it. Tell her I said thank you. Thank
I
you.
will.
Thank you.
Oh, and I have one more question for Nick.
Okay.
Nick, why are you not playing in this record? Because you played some of her previous ones.
What do you mean?
Trumpet.
Trumpet, yeah.
Oh, am I not playing on it?
Yeah.
Did you hear the musicians that played on this record? I should tell you why I didn't play on it.
I like the trombone. That was pretty cool.
Plus, I mean, I had my hand, being the producer of this project was a big job, but it was a fun job.
Yeah.
But I wanted to drive in that lane, and I'm glad I did, because
Was I hard to work with, Nick?
Oh.
were you hard to work with?
Yes.
Remember all that talk about ease? No, this has been a delightful project from start to finish.
Just double checking. Just double.
No, and it's really deepened our friendship, which
Getting
is
you on
a really
record.
nice bonus.
This is the other thing. We are fine friends, and I think that matters also. That you don't have to be the friend of your producer, but it sure helps when you want to, get to the softer side of your feelings around things, because we can't be at a distance from our feelings, right?
Right.
And there's nothing like creating art that you care about to bring out those feelings. So when you have someone who understands that and can support you, even when you're not sure of yourself, that right there is golden.
Well, life is part of the art, right? You can't really separate the two. So I think all of this experience played a part in this album. Every conversation, all the meetings and the brainstorming and the glasses of wine when we were in North Carolina, like all that, you hear all of that on the record, I think.
It's a fantastic effort. And again, we're going to drop a link to where you can sample and purchase that below at the Origin Records website. Nnenna, it was incredible to speak with you. Thank you for coming in. It's
Thank you.
really inspiring to hear from you. And Nick, it's always a pleasure. Both of you are welcome back anytime you'd like.
Thank you so much, guys. You all take care.
You too.